So in this video, I'm going to cover how I went about learning this stuff, right? This offensive security skill set, right? The pen testing stuff. How did I start? How did I go about learning this? This is actually a video that was requested by Hack from our elevatecyber Discord community. Definitely check that out if you haven't already. The link is in the description below to join. But yeah, if this content sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. We'll be getting right into it. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ryan from elevatecyber, and I want to bring you guys back to the kind of origin of how I started. I know a lot of you guys are starting as well, so I think this could benefit a lot of people and maybe give them some ideas and also understand just how much better they have it now, right? So I started learning this stuff back when I was in college, which honestly, that wasn't too crazy long ago. It was 2015 when I first started this, because I always thought I was going to be an electrical engineer. That's what I thought I was going to do when I went to college. And I went all the way to my senior year before I changed my major to cybersecurity. Now, fortunately for me, only took me one extra year to graduate. But the reason that I got into this field, even in the first place, is I happen to live on the special living floor for all these cybersecurity majors and IT majors. And my roommate happened to be into cybersecurity, more on the policy side, on the risk assessment type of side. But I always just remember thinking, wow, this is a really cool field. And if I ever was in the market to change my major, this is absolutely what I would change it to. And so, things went on, and I wasn't really liking what I was doing with the engineering stuff. I just didn't seem like it was a good fit for me. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to just do it. I'm just going to just take the plunge. I'm going to get into this field. And when I was going through college, taking these security classes, it was really good to give me an overview of all the different areas, or a lot of the different areas of cybersecurity, because it's such a broad term. It could mean so many different things. A lot of people think about, cybersecurity professionals or hackers. They're doing crazy things on the keyboard. That's what we do as pen testers and the red team guys as well. But most of security isn't like that. A lot of it is the policy side, the compliance side, risk assessments, and then even the blue team side, which they're pretty darn cool. Don't get me wrong. Like threat hunters, you're literally out there and you're literally hunting bad guys. Come on, that's pretty cool. I will say blue team is pretty cool. Don't sleep on it. Yeah, so that's how I got an idea. When I saw the different areas, pen testing was the one that captivated me the most. I was like, this is really cool. I've always been more of a technically minded guy, a technically savvy type of guy. And I like the idea of being at the forefront, on the front lines. Like, you're actually the ones that are reproducing these attacks, doing the attacks that hackers do. So I really thought that was a really cool angle to come at it. And probably like many of you guys, there was a time where I didn't even know that existed. I was like, wait, you're telling me that I can get paid to break into stuff? That is really cool. And to simulate an adversary and things like that. I just thought that was by far the coolest part of security at the time. So, and I still do think it's pretty darn cool, right? So when I decided that, okay, I want to be a pen tester, I remember it was my last year in college in 2015. And I told the story before on a live stream, but basically I lived in a fraternity house, and I would use that as a playground. Now, before I go any further, I absolutely do not condone any misuse of these powers here that we have. But what I would do is I would just play around, and I would get their permission, right? I wouldn't like hack people like without permission or whatever. But I would do some, recon on the network, because I lived in a fraternity house. There was about like 30 guys in there. So there's tons of devices and things to play around with. And I would have Kali Linux installed on a bootable USB, and I would just slot that into my laptop and boot Kali Linux. And I would just start enumerating the network. And I would start off with all the really like super script kiddie stuff, honestly. Because at the time, I didn't even really know about CTFs. I think VulnHub was the big platform at that point. But we didn't have a lot of the platforms, the amazing platforms that are available today, like TryHackMe, even HackTheBox. None of that existed back then. But I downloaded Kali Linux, I remember. That was the first thing I did. And I just kind of poked around on it and tried to like figure out the Linux stuff, the Linux commands. and I would just look through all the tools, and I would Google like what the different tools did, so I could understand like, okay, what do I have access to here? What can I do? And I remember when I found Metasploit, that was like the coolest thing ever, right? I would just do like all the most script kiddie stuff with it. And I also figured out how to boot people offline by doing a man-in-the-middle attack where I sat in between the router and all the devices, and I would target different people's IP addresses in the fraternity. I'd be like, hey, I'm going to boot you offline. And they're like, no, you can't. And so I would like find the IP address to their device, like on their laptop, right? I would do some like, I would look up ARP tables and stuff like that. I would find their MAC address, and I would write a script, a really simple script to say, hey, if you see a packet going to or from this MAC address, or their IP address, right? I would say to intercept the packet and drop the packet. So effectively, it would be a denial of service, and they wouldn't be able to use the internet. And when they saw that I could do that, they're like, whoa, they thought I was like the greatest hacker of all time. But all this stuff, just playing around, experimenting with this stuff, I had fun with it. It was cool, right? And I was learning along the way. And I would do things like that. And the very first shell that I ever got, I'll always remember this. The very first shell that I got was exploiting MS-067, I believe, which is the RCE attack against Windows XP. So I remember I also first learned about virtualization back then, and like VirtualBox, stuff like that. So I actually put Windows XP on a virtual machine, and I actually used that exploit and got my first shell, and I thought it was really cool. And I was like, oh, look, there's all these different things you can do in Metasploit, right? You can, what is it? You could do all these different enumeration commands, post-exploitation. I can put a backdoor on it to persist. So even when I shut down the system, I can instantly get my shell back. And I started learning about all the different post-exploitation options you can do in Metasploit and all of that stuff. Then I took it a little further, and here's where I got a little bit risky in retrospect, but I actually put a virus on my USB, right? And then I inserted that into, this was really dangerous in retrospect, right? I inserted that into my laptop, and I rooted my laptop. And so I remember, like, this was one of my coolest memories. Like, I was just sitting there in my room in college, right? I had my laptop on the other side of the room, kind of open and facing me. And I was sitting at my desktop computer. And I had the virus on a USB, and basically it was just a basic MSF Venom payload, right? Put that on the flash drive. I went across the room. I put that in my laptop. And then like connected back to my Metasploit that I had running on my Kali VM that was on my desktop. And I remember for the first time when I rooted my laptop, when I rooted a device that wasn't a VM or anything, it was another machine, physical machine. I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. There was a lot of coolest things that happened back in that time frame, right? But I thought that was really neat. And I remember like looking through some of the post-exploitation things you could do with Metasploit at the time. And you still can. One of the things that really, I was really into the flashy stuff, right? I was like your textbook script kiddie, right? But I saw the ability to take photos from the webcam. I was like, oh, that's so cool. So I actually did that, and I remember just seeing that flash like out of the corner of my eye because my laptop was like across the room. I remember just seeing that flash of light, where it took the photo from the webcam, and I remember accessing the photos, and I was like, yo, I'm a real hacker now. I made it, boys. I just remember like that was such like a exhilarating experience. And so that was like, I mean, while it was, fun or whatever and kind of corny looking back at it, it was cool. And it actually was a way that I got a lot of experience with these different tools, with Metasploit and with TCP IP networking and MAC addresses and ARP table. I didn't know any of that stuff before this, right? A lot of the stuff that you learn, one of the best ways to learn stuff is learning on an as-needed basis, like I talk about a lot on this channel. You learn things along the way, right? And so eventually once I graduated and everything, and I started off in IT, and I wasn't, in the security space yet, that's when I would go and I would, take it a step in the more professional direction or whatever, I guess you could say. I would learn, I would spend time with WebGoat and starting to understand more of the web vulnerability side of things, and just getting in those practice environments where I could, have them explain a different web app vulnerability to me, and I would then try to exploit it. And so that's where I went from there. And when I discovered, and I did some Vuln Hub boxes as well. And when I discovered CTFs, that's when I really started getting, leveling up quite a lot. And, Hack the Box, I did a lot of those boxes and different things like that. And then eventually started on the OSCP journey. And here we are today. And eventually I did get into security in my day job. But I would say about 98% of the things that I learned on my own, right? And so that is the big takeaway from this, right? Don't think because you don't have a job in this field, you can't learn about this stuff. 98% of the things I know, I learned on my own. So absolutely, you can learn this stuff on your own, and it's all about self-learning in this field. You have to have that curiosity, right? Like when I rooted my laptop and I was like, what can I do from here? I'm curious, what can I do? Oh, I can take pictures from the webcam. How does that work? Right? That curiosity is the same kind of curiosity that's going to lead you to actually providing a lot of value in this field. Like, I'm curious about this function on this website. What if I passed it this data instead of the data that it expects, right? Oh, wow, I didn't expect it to process it like that. Well, what if I just tweak this and this? Oh, wow, I actually got cross-site scripting on this page. Now I can write this in my report, and I can provide value to the company and save some catastrophic issues from potentially happening, right? It's that curiosity that it's this type of mindset. If you have this mindset, or at least can cultivate it somehow, this is the mindset that you need in pen testing and red teaming, offensive security, to be successful. You need to be curious, and you need to be a self-learner. You need to, if you enjoy this stuff, if you're watching this content, right? No one's making you watch this content. You're watching it because, you're drawn to it. You have some kind of passion, some kind of interest in this field. That alone is enough to get you started, right? Because you're watching this video on your own time. You're learning about security. So, if you're watching my content, you have what it takes. And that's what I want to show you. Anyone can be successful in this field. Anyone can get OSCP if they really have that curiosity and that mindset, and they keep going, and they never give in to any kind of failure they may encounter on the way, because that's only temporary. We are elevating our skills here on this channel. And if you want to elevate your skills even more, go ahead and check out my series, What You Need to Know for OSCP. Also, take a look at my free OSCP notes down there in the description below, and be sure to subscribe if you're not already. Hit the like button. It'll help other people, learn about my beginning journey, and maybe, see how they can get started in this field. Not that I would recommend the same path, but you guys have a lot more options now. I'm kind of jealous, but yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.